Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Monday, Makeover Monday. It's a day to it's the time of the week to start rethinking. All right, how was last week? Reevaluate where I went right and where I went wrong, and auto-correct where I was a little off track. And it's a great new week. And this is the week I'm heading to California for Madhu's wedding.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. Madhu's a great soul, part of our community here. Yeah. And I'm either going to fly out or I'm going to drive. I'm getting like some inspiration.
You may drive the entire way?
You know what? I love driving.
All right.
I can stop off at some others' houses.
Okay. Interesting.
Might take Bhakti Justin here, is sitting by my side, and I'm going to take my two little boys too. We're excited, and if we drive, we can throw our bikes in. You know, yeah.
Okay.
Anything else going on with you?
I don't know. You have
Did
any
I
nuggets?
miss?
Or anything? Oh, you know.
Do I got a nugget? Yeah, I got a nugget. You want a nugget? I got a nugget.
Hit it.
Hit it. You want a nugget first? Anything you want to say, Mara?
Do we want to talk
Mary?
about schedule for the week at all?
Schedule. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to get a little kooky because we can't do our regular class at 5 a.m. because that would be 2 a.m. and that just can't happen. But I can still do 5 a.m., which is 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So starting Thursday, we're going to be on 8 a.m. Eastern time every day.
Okay.
For about 2 weeks.
But
That's
tomorrow
okay.
we're on at the regular time.
Tomorrow we're running the regular time.
Wednesday,
Take your
no
notes.
show.
What's that?
Or
Wednesday's
if you're
going to be
driving. Huh? Wednesday, no show. Just leave it.
Let's just say Wednesday, no show.
Okay. So Tuesday, regular time. Wednesday, no show. Then Thursday, and then for some time, it'll be
For
like
2 weeks.
or
Yeah.
something like that.
Less
It'll
than,
be at 8 a.m. Eastern time.
yeah.
So
does
that's
that
an
make sense?
opportunity for the California people to tune in.
It's the opportunity, Californians. We're doing it for you, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, check out this little nugget poem.
Who's it from?
It's from Henry Jackson Van Dyke
Oh, yeah.
Jr., not to be confused with Dick Van Dyke.
Senior.
Senior. No one even knows who Dick Van Dyke is. Isn't that sad?
It's not, I'm over it.
All right, check this out. This is on time.
Yeah.
Time is too slow for those who wait.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like a kid in the backseat of the car. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there? Right? If you're waiting, time is going slow. Time is too swift for those who fear. Can you think of an analogy for that?
I'm growing old. I'm going to die.
And now I'm old. That could be, yeah.
It's
I was
going
thinking
too
like,
fast. I wish I could slow it down, but I can't.
yeah,
It's going too
time
fast.
is too swift for those who fear. Too long for those who grieve.
When will this end, right?
When or my heart was broken, or my loved one died, and they just can't stop forgetting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Too short for those who rejoice. Like, what a great night that was. I wish I could relive that moment. Life is too short. Time is too short. It's amazing. It actually manifests different in different people. Ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
But for those who love, time is not.
Ah.
Isn't that cool? Time is not.
Read the whole thing again. Just through
Okay, ready? Without my purports.
Yeah,
Time
without the
Time
right
is
number.
too slow for those who wait, too swift for those who fear, too short for those who rejoice. But for those who love, time is not.
You skipped the grieve one.
Oh, too long
Try
for
again.
those who
Try
grieve.
again.
Time
This is a
is
poem.
too.
You have to read it
Okay.
right.
I'm trying to be dramatic.
Yeah.
Time is too slow for those who wait, too swift for those who fear, too long for those who grieve, too short for those who rejoice. But for those who love, time is not.
Right.
Not. This is the soul's separateness, eternality
Mm-hmm.
from the time factor,
Right.
which is an extension of Maya. No one feels old. Yeah, no one feels. Sometimes your body feels old, but like I don't. I remember yesterday like yesterday.
Well, that may be because you love, and therefore time is not for you.
Yes, time is not.
But yeah, but it seems, in other words, the it's a really interesting quote. It's something that someone introspective could realize. But in one sense, we've got the blueprint from Bhagavatam that's already telling us that there's a realm in which time exists, and then there's a realm in which there is no time. And even though you're in a body that's bound by time, moving through a world that's bound by time, if your consciousness is on the spiritual platform, time in once, it's going to exist for your body, it's going to exist for your home and for all the externals. But it doesn't exist on the internal level. And it indicates that love is, it's also very interesting. Right? This ties into that conversation we were having with Jai Jagannath yesterday. A really interesting interview from yesterday. If you haven't heard it, please go. And
If you didn't hear that, go back. Jai Jagannath was a deep well of wisdom.
yeah. So
Valuable.
one might assume, even logically assume, that like things like love, that seems to be a thing of the material realm. Like if I'm a Jnani, right? If I'm coming from that Jnana yoga viewpoint where I'm analyzing the externals, I'm analyzing even say like love. I can look at it in this world, see it begins on one day and ends on another day. At least at death it ends, right? And so it seems like love may be a thing of the material realm and therefore unreal. And truth is that we're all just one, and that we all just exist, and there's some relief and bliss in that. But here, by saying those who love, time is not, it's kind of a clue or a hint that really when we get beyond the material, completely beyond it, what you actually find is divine love. And when we actually are feeling that, then the externals don't make a difference for us. We're not the first four kind of show someone who's bound, someone who's controlled.
Right.
If this is happening, I perceive the world this way, and if that is happening, I perceive the world another way. But for that person that's not controlled by their senses, by the externals, that's beyond that, that's even-minded, for them what they experience is actually love.
Do you think he's talking about regular love of this material world or spiritual love?
Well, he was
A clergy.
He was a clergyman. He was, what else was he? He was like a diplomat. This Van Dyke, right?
Yeah.
Not Dick Van Dyke, but
Dick Van Dyke.
can't say Van Dyke without saying Dick Van Dyke, right? He was an American author, educator, diplomat, and clergyman. So to me, I feel rather certain he's.
Although I thought probably even in material romantic love, there's that feeling of time stands still. But I think, of course, it's got its, it's bound.
Limitations, yeah.
It's bound by time and experience, because that experience wears off.
Mm-hmm.
Keep the love real. Keep it going. But
Right.
but that eternal love that we're looking for, that's where time stands. And that's when we're not.
Yeah.
that's where we're going with
But
that.
I think like even like in our own lives, to whatever extent we're embodying this, and we can see in the lives of those yogis, those bhakti yogis that we're impressed with, that they're not controlled by time, right? They have loving demeanors, and they're not like they're not controlled, emotionally controlled by the externals.
Well, that was something that ran.
Good nugget.
That was pretty good nug.
Yeah, liked it.
I don't even call them nuggets anymore. I call them nugs.
Just save a little
Nectar
time.
nugs.
All right.
I used to, what do you call it? I used to have this whole thing with sleep when I was a teenager. I figured I was sleeping. You know, a lot of people sleep 6 hours. A lot of people sleep 8 hours. Some people sleep more than that. I always thought like, well, wow, if I could sleep 6 hours, that would be 2 hours off. So I started cutting 2 hours off.
2 more hours.
This is when I was like 17. And then I was
achieve your goals. You mean like that?
Yeah, 2 hours a day. So a week, that'd be 14 hours, right? That's 28 hours every 2 weeks, right? And I think my mind was calculating like that. And then I started going, well, what if I just take one of those days of the week? What's the difference if I cut it down to 5? That I'm throwing an extra hour. That's 15 hours a week. I'm saving 15 hours a week. Because I'm thinking I'm like sleeping a big chunk of my life. Then I was thinking, I tell you, I did experiments with my body like this when I was like 17.
Dude, there should be a book about this. Raghunath's experiments with his body as a teenager. Maybe there shouldn't.
No. Well, once a week I would stay up all night. Once a week I would stay up all night to try to maximize life.
What were you doing?
I don't know. That's a good point. What good is saving time if you don't know what you're doing? But I can't remember if I did anything significant. But I knew there was some value in awakeness.
Well, that's what you were doing was very similar to like the way Prahlad breaks it down. Doesn't Prahlad break it down that way in the 7th canto? Again, that 5-year-old boy sage, where he says, well, you got to look at your life, right? First of all, so much of it is spent sleeping, right? So you cut all that out. Like if you got 100 years, you're down to like what? Like
I was thinking like Prahlad.
66 years.
I was thinking like Prahlad,
right? Then he'd say that the first whatever like 12 years are just like childhood. There's no real serious progression towards self-realization. Okay, throw that out. Now you're down from 68 down to 56, right? And then you calculate how much time you're just like taking care of your body, doing different kind of things. Okay, now you're down to whatever, and he just kept cutting it down. How much time do you waste just like gossiping, eating?
Think of how many hours we have saved from not having hair.
Okay.
Think about it. I mean, if you actually boil it down to time, not having hair probably saves us maybe a day in our in a lifetime.
Oh, more than a day.
More than a day. You got to go get your hair cut and stuff like that. Yeah.
Because I used to do 100 strokes of the brush every day so that it would be fully bodied, But I'm safe from that now.
All right. Well, can't buy that time back. Time is valuable. And we don't just want time for the sake of time. We want it to do something substantial. Because even trees live long, but they don't necessarily engage in self-realization. Good point. So I was sort of had a good attitude. It was just misplaced. I was waiting to find Bhakti Yoga, I think.
And now you got it
from a previous life.
Okay.
You ever think like that? You ever think was it a previous life?
Episode 6 of.
Was it a previous life? Were you into this from a previous life, or is it just did you just stumble upon it in this life? Do you ever think like that?
Well, I mean, sometimes I think that way, but then I know that I don't have the answer to that, and I'm not particularly interested in the answer to that. Like, really, I don't.
Oh, you can find out, my friend, because we have a special guest coming Sunday.
Okay.
Our next Sunday, we have a master astrologer coming.
All right.
You just have to figure out some details, but Sunday, get ready because he's going to blow your mind. He's done my whole family's chart. He's done Kathy Haggerty's chart. He's done a bunch of you guys' charts. Done Mara's chart. Mara loves him too.
All right.
He was right on, Mara?
What's his name?
He was. Drew Lawrence.
Drew Lawrence.
Drew Lawrence, he's incredible. And BTW Kaustubha Das,
Yeah.
maybe one of the questions I should pose to him, what was Kaustubha in his previous life?
You can give him my chart if you want.
Let's figure it out.
Give
Send me
him
your
you want
numbers.
my
Send me your
deets?
numbers. I'll send it ahead to him.
Okay. We'll examine my strengths and weaknesses.
All right. Let's dive. What do you say we dive into the Srimad Bhagavatam?
I'm more than ready, and I'm raring to go.
Here's the secret mantras. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tadojayam madire. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being. Unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning. And to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesha badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmadatamnena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the dark of ignorance. My spiritual master has opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances to their lotus feet.
All right.
Why don't you tell us where we are, Prabhu?
Back at it. We're in chapter 9 of the 3rd canto. And we're getting there, Raghunath. Brahma has been, he was in his meditation and he saw Lord Vishnu. And he began to offer lengthy prayers. He's going to ask for something, right? He's going to ask for something.
Sure.
But he was building up to it. He didn't just bust in there and say, this is what I want. He built up through his sharing his realizations, his appreciations, his observations. And
it's
those observations
rhyming there. Appreciations, realizations, observations.
Okay. And so then that built up to where we are now, which is text 19, which let's read text 19 and 20 quickly. These describe his vision. I mean, we could talk about this, I suppose, but I want to get to what he asks, which we'll find beginning with text 21 and 22. That gets to what he asks. He's going to ask for two things. Quickly, go ahead and do 19 and 20. Let's read those.
Oh, my Lord, by your own will you appear in the various species of living entities, among animals lower than human beings, as well as among demigods, to perform your transcendental pastimes. You are not affected by material contamination. You come just to fulfill the obligations of your own principles of dharma. And therefore, O Supreme Personality, I offer my obeisances unto you for manifesting such different forms. My Lord, you accept the pleasure of sleeping in the water of devastation, where there are violent waves, and you enjoy pleasure on the bed of snakes. That's the Ananta, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Showing the happiness of your sleep to intelligent persons. At that time, all the universal planets are stationed within your abdomen.
Abdomen, Raghunath. It's an area of the stomach. Right? It's a large. I remember you said something like, I said abdomen, and you said no, it's the uterus that someone's born from. And I said, yeah, but the uterus is within the abdomen.
Oh yeah, we had a whole debate that show. I remember.
Little anatomy thing going on.
A little anatomy war.
Okay.
Me and Kaustubha, are we like old husbands and wives? That's why I feel like an old husband.
I remember you said. All right. Now we get to the point. I think this is the text now. Text 22, is that where we're at? Yeah. Text 22. This is it. He's going to ask, the first thing he's going to ask for is in this verse.
I just read 20, 19 and 20.
I thought you read 21.
No. Oh, object of worship, I am born.
Okay.
I am born from the house of your lotus navel for the purpose of creating the universe by your mercy. All these planets of the universe were stationed within your transcendental abdomen while you were enjoying sleep. Now, your sleep having ended, your eyes are open like blossoming lotuses in the morning.
Okay, it was that abdomen that threw me off.
Yeah.
All right, now text 22. He's going to ask for something.
Let the Supreme Lord be merciful towards me. He is the one friend and soul of all living entities in the world, and he maintains all for the ultimate happiness by his transcendental opulences. May he be merciful towards me so that I, before, may be empowered with the introspection to create, for I am also one of the surrendered souls who are dear to the Lord.
Okay. So in text 21, the previous
22.
verse, no, but in text 21, he said that I'm born from you for the purpose, right? Like I'm born with a particular purpose. What's the purpose? I'm born for the purpose for creating the universe by your mercy. Okay, so he's not saying, I don't care what your purpose is for me. I want to do what I'm going to do, right? This is my life, right? And I'm
Right.
going to,
That's us.
it's my life, right? It's like, he's not thinking that way.
No, and I was just thinking, I was given the class at the Bhakti Center the other day, and it's sort of like we have divine instructions within all of us. Like we have that connection with Super Soul. We have that chitta, that internal wisdom of what to do. We just won't listen. We
Right.
like, well, thanks for sharing, God, but here's my plan. Talk to the hand. It's almost like your mom is like saying, hey, do this, do this, do this, do this. And you're like, okay, mom, sure, mom, sure, mom, sure, mom. It's already within us.
Yeah.
And we just refuse to hear. And so we have an agenda in the material world. And advancing in yoga is when we can actually hear and obey. And then we actually, our life becomes transcendental.
Yeah, it's like,
Look at Mara. She's like, yes, he's so wise. She was like, oh, yeah.
guy's got it. Since he came back from Tibet.
That's why I'm here. Since he's...
So he's saying, I've got a purpose, and I want to be able to carry out that purpose. That's where his total focus is. It's not, he hasn't separated from his purpose. He wants to fulfill his purpose, right? So he's saying, so in text 22, he's praying. This is the first prayer in the universe, right? Like the first thing that's being asked for.
And didn't think of it like that. Yeah, it's the first prayer in the universe.
The very first,
Yeah.
the universe's first prayer. And with such clarity, he's not praying for the Mercedes-Benz. He's not praying for so many things that you could pray
But he
for.
didn't create that yet.
It hadn't been created yet.
Maybe he would have if he created it, because those new Mercedes are really nice.
Okay. But what he prays for is, first thing, I need to be able to carry out my purpose. And you know what? I have no ability on my own to do that. I'm praying to you for the introspection that will be necessary in order for me to create in service of yourself, right? In service of Lord Vishnu. For I am also one of the surrendered souls who are dear to the Lord. This is my purpose. I'm dear to you, right? I'm dear to you, and I want to be part of. I don't want to disconnect myself from you. I want to stay connected. And then that leads to this next. What is it that disconnects us? What is it that covers us? What is it that confuses us? Because he's in the course of carrying out his purpose, his dharma, right? We can easily become confused. And that this next verse speaks to that.
23. The Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, is always the benefactor of the surrendered souls. His activities are always enacted through his internal potency, Rama, or the goddess of fortune. So there's Rama, which is Rama, and then there's Rama, or the goddess of fortune.
Yeah.
I pray only to engage in his service in the creation of the material world. And I pray that I not be materially affected by my works, for thus I may be able to give up the false prestige of being the creator, right? Once you get good at something, that ego just slips right in. Then we're doing it for ego. That's why a lot of times I find people who are they have a craft, be it athletic craft or a musical craft or artistic craft, or they have a craft, but they become arrogant, and then they end up like hating the very thing they're good at, because that craft has like, it's when you do it with ego, it's riddled with envy, and it's riddled with fear, because you fear like, well, someone else is better than me, and it's riddled with maybe perhaps even losing that craft, or there's a newer thing in town, you know. You know,
We were talking about you and I because we've been having some issues with our microphones. They did. There's just
yeah. You like my new stand? You guys are noticing my new mic stand?
Don't
The
get proud. So in any case, I was investigating different cables that we could use and so on. So like, you go into musicians know this, right? You go into Smash or whatever. You go into a music store.
First
You
of all,
know,
people
these
have to
guys
understand what
sometimes,
Sam Ash is, because only musicians
Yeah.
really know.
well, that's
Sam
what I
Ash
said, it's
is
a
like
music store.
these massive, massive music store. It's like the big one.
Yeah. So when you
It's-
go in there and you ask a few questions, sometimes these guys, the pride, right? It's like, I know
musicians
more
are
than
the
you.
worst. Every musician knows musicians are arrogant.
Like it's just like I'm asking you a simple question. I was asking this guy a question, and it was, this was the point, right? If I plug this, the microphone has two inputs. One of them goes straight into computer, and that means within the microphone it has this audio. I even forget what it's called, but like it's got this thing that translates the signal into digital. That's
Yeah.
built into the microphone. But if you come out the other input, it's meant to go into like some kind of mixing board or something like that. And so it doesn't have that digital signal. So then you have to go into audio interface. That's what it's called. You have to buy an audio interface to go through the audio to translate it into digital. So my question was, well, here I am spending more money to get the cable. Now I got to spend more money to get the audio interface. Here's a question. Will the audio interface give me better control of the sound? But will I be getting more? Am I spending $60 just for an adapter, or will I be able to get something more out of it? Will I
Get ready for the message board. You're going to hear like all our like arrogant guys who know it all musicians. Oh, no, don't go
disagreeing with one another?
Just I'm going to fight a
Debating.
war on the chat board.
Yeah. So any case, it was my question was very focused, and I had to repeat it several times as he kept going off in different directions. But he was angry at me and speaking down to me, like as I was, because I just didn't understand anything, about music and about this equipment and all this. Like,
Yeah, you don't
you're
know. What do
supposed
you
to be there to
know?
help me, guy, right? But my point is this: the pauper's proud of their penny, right? Like because as soon as we know something or do something, instantly there's pride there. I remember, did you ever work as a messenger? I know Parmananda did.
No, I never did. Parmananda did.
Yeah, but like that was like kind of the thing you could do when we were kids, right? Like
It was sort of a cool job.
Well, that's my thing. That's the thing, right? It's like back in the early 80s, the mid 80s, it was actually a thing. Like bike messengers in New York City, like they're making movies about it, and it was kind of a job where you could just come in and out of it whenever you wanted to, right?
Why was it so cool?
Well, that's my point. We
Just like pedaling
we all
around.
thought we were the coolest things, right? Like,
Yeah.
I know you're defying death out there, and but actually we're at the bottom of the totem pole. Like,
I know.
economically, and like we are like the servants of the servants. In one sense, it was like you've just got the lowest job. You got no qualifications except that you can get on a bike and bring this thing from here to there. It's the people that made the film that wrote up the document, like
just arrogant.
But yeah, like
and I always hated those bike messengers because they were so damn arrogant, looking at me, making fun of my bike. They have to have the single gear bike,
the fixed gear bike.
Screw those guys
with no brakes. Yeah, it's like we're proud of the dumbest stuff. So that's the point. We become proud instantly. As soon as we take a little of Krishna's whatever opulence you have, it's given to us, it's granted to us, but we take pride in it. We want to see ourselves as ultimately as Bhagavan, right? Like the one that possesses all the opulences. So here he mentions the term he uses, he wants protection from the effects of the service that he has to do. He calls it karma shamalam, which means like the material effect that you get from the actions or the work that you do. And Prabhupada goes ahead and translates that as pride, right? Because like that's an immediate, prominent kind of result.
I have this karma that whenever I get real arrogant about doing something that I'm good at, like make a complete like fool. If I'm not doing it in the mood of service, Krishna just makes it like I'll like something like a harmonium leading to kirtan. I'm doing it good. I'm doing it sincerely, and all of a sudden I get a little bit like everyone thinks I'm cool. And once that happens, it's like I mess up the keys. I play it the wrong way. Like there's a squeaking harmonium key or something like that. I did that teaching yoga once. I was like showing how to do Bakasana crow, and I was like, you could do it like this. You could do it like this. Here's a gentle way to do it. Or you could do it like this. And I did like from down dog. I jumped in the air and landed on crow, but I like did it. And I just like went right on my face, like boom, 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 boom.
Oh man.
The most humiliating thing. And I was like, that's probably the best thing that could have happened to me. You know what I mean?
Did you say it out loud?
I did. I was like, you know what? I could just get in my ego like this. And it just like Krishna immediately pulls out the rug from underneath us. And, in the material world, that's like a miserable, humiliating thing. If you put on your spiritual hat, your Vishnu goggles, I like that word, the Vishnu goggles, and you see things as Krishna's mercy, you're like, yeah, I'm arrogant, and Krishna's just like pulling that out under my rug, so I don't like rest on my arrogance. So I don't wear the arrogant suit today. I got to change my clothes. I got to put on a different suit of clothes today.
You have to be able to laugh at yourself a little bit in spiritual life, right?
Yeah.
If you can't say, look at me, I'm controlled, right? I'm controlled by ego. That's you're never going to get over it until you recognize it. And when you recognize it, it's a little bit humorous, right?
I did one yesterday. I was pulling out these weeds, these invasive roses on a wall, on a stone wall. So I was on the stone wall, and I couldn't get them out. I had these gloves on. I was pulling them, and I just went. I finally got them out, and I felt, and no one saw me too, and I just I landed on the stone. I fell off the wall, so I fell like 3 feet in the air backwards, and landed on my back. And on the way down, I hit my knee and skinned my knee, and I'm rolling on the lawn like and it was just like such a move of a buffoon. It was like a buffoon. It was so.
But we all become those buffoons, right?
Yeah.
But one who's introspective like this, they can laugh at it a bit, But this is the thing, right? He's saying, I'm asking. This is the first prayer in the universe. Lord Brahma, the most intelligent being in the universe, is turning to Lord Vishnu, and saying, really, what can I do without you? I'm born with a purpose to serve you. When I'm connected to you, that's when I'm alive. That's when I'm vibrant. That's when I'm happy, right? And I want, out of love, I want to satisfy you and connect myself to you through service, through carrying out my service, which is my purpose. In order to do this, I need a mind that's enlivened with spiritual thought. So I'm praying for the introspection. I'm praying for the right mindset, for that to arise in my mind by your grace. And I know that in the course of carrying out this service, my tendency as Tatashta Shakti, right? I'm not God. I'm not also the material energy. I'm a spark of God's energy, but I can become covered. Tatashta means I'm in the middle, right? I'm God's energy, but I can become covered by the material energy. So I know that the way that the material energy works is as soon as you accomplish anything, you become proud. And so from the very beginning, this is being pointed out by Brahma. I need to carry this out. I mean, his service is, relatively.
Compared to a bike messenger, Lord Brahma's service is quite fantastic.
He tops the bike messenger any day. and so what to speak of in his position, but we become proud of any tiny little thing. And so
it seems like, I'm sorry, go on.
No, please.
I was thinking like, it seems like in complete Maya, we're just walking around thinking we're the doer of everything. We're wrapped up in our greatness, and if people disagree with our greatness, they become my enemy, and then as you start allowing a little of Vedic truth, like everything that I have is from the mercy of somebody else, and everything, I have some good fortune, and because of that good fortune, I shouldn't get proud because I know it's not ultimately coming from me. So in the course of the day, when you start practicing bhakti yoga, we like vacillate between this like God consciousness and I'm in total maya and total illusion, and it flickers. And as we become more and more connected, spiritually connected throughout the day, we see our life is like this is a gift from Krishna, or this is the ability is coming from some other source. And if I have some good fortune, it's because I've been rained down with good fortune, with love, with care. As soon as I get something, we immediately want to relinquish the credit, which I'm desperately looking for in my Maya state. And we're more tuned in that our whole body, our whole life, our whole fortune, and even our own tragedies are some massive blessings that we're getting, and that we've always been cared for, always been loved, always been directed. And I was just not listening, not hearing. And so we're tuning in.
Or not observing, like you're saying right now, like when you're on it, when you're spiritually on it, you're observing that I was able to do that because I was empowered to do it. It's really not me doing it. I'm not the doer. And this is what's this is all pointing at, right? Like Brahma's saying, who am I to do anything? You give me the inspiration, you give me the power, and I become proud. But that, it's, philosophically, they call this like the question of agency, right? Like who's the agent of any particular action? There's an action. Who was ultimately the cause, right? And so philosophically, you can analyze it, but there's like, say, this real important verse in Bhagavad Gita, right? 327, Raghu, hot seat. 327, you know it.
327, that's the one, karma. Do those who think they're the doer, that one?
Prakrite.
I can't remember.
Prakrite.
Prakriti priya karmani.
Gunai.
Is that it?
Yeah, Gunai karmani sarvashaha.
That's all I got.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Good enough. I got something.
Good.
Prakrite kriyamanani.
Throw Mara on that hot seat once in a while.
Well, she's only got one. She's got her book out there. She's learning it right now.
She's only got one verse. Mary, got up your game, man.
Maybe by the time Raghunath comes back from it, every time someone goes to California, you got to learn a verse. How's that?
All right. That's fair.
So Prakrite kriyamanani.
There's different types of intelligence. There's people who are like very smart, but just can't memorize things.
Yeah.
I'm not that smart, but I can memorize things pretty good.
Okay. Well, here's one. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha. Ahankara vimudhatma.
Ahankara vimudhatma.
Vimudhatma. Kartaham iti manyate. Kartaham. Karta aham. I am the doer. Kartaham iti manyate. One thinks when they are ahankara vimudhatma, when they're bewildered by false ego. Right. The translation is that the spirit soul, right? That's us, the spark of spiritual energy within the body, bewildered by the influence of false ego. That's a subtle part of the mind, right? The false ego. The spirit soul, bewildered by false ego, thinks themselves the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. Now we have to think about this, right? It's saying that if we think that I'm the cause of the results of my actions, I become bewildered by false ego. But what does that mean? And it mentions the three modes of material nature. But the idea is that we identify with the body, which is composed of the three modes of material nature, right? And we think that the decisions that we make in life are necessarily ours when actually they're not. What to speak of the empowerment to be able to do it, right? Like even the smallest things, even my ability to speak right now, I desire it and somehow it happens, but I didn't create this body. I didn't create this voice. I didn't create how my mind connects to my voice. And even the ability to do it can be taken away from me at any moment, right? When you think this way, then you start to become the observer. You're kind of watching everything happen. And this is the thing, let me just read one. Sometimes I look up, there's this nice website. I wish I knew exactly what it was actually, because I can't think of what it's called. I just have like an icon that I click on and I get it. But there's
just an icon that you click on. And
well, in other words, like I don't know what it's called.
Good information comes up.
I'll
Give me that
it
icon
before we end the show. Or here it is. It's bhagavad-gita.us. Bhagavad-gita.us. And on this website is great because it'll give you the Bhagavad Gita every single verse, and then it gives you commentaries by all the great commentators. It starts with Srila Prabhupada's commentary.
Wow.
Then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur.
What's this website again? Bhagavad Gita.
Bhagavad-Gita.us.
.us.
And so you got Prabhupada, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Ramanujacharya, Baladev Vidyabhushana, and Sridhar Swami. And then it lists this person who I don't know anything about, Keshava Kashmiri. I'm sure it's not the same Keshava Kashmiri. I'm assuming it's not the same Keshava.
Maybe.
It could be. It says Sri Keshava Kashmiri of the Kumara Sampradaya.
Okay. All right. Let's stay on focus. Because here we go.
I'm focused. I'm focused. Are you?
No,
I'm
you were
focused.
talking about
The doership.
becoming the doer.
Yeah, and so this is his commentary on verse 327.
Okay.
He says, on the scriptural authority of the Vedas, the Atma, or the soul, is the doer. But this is fully experienced only when moksha, or liberation from material existence, is attained. So unless we've become free from the influence of our body, our mind, our senses, then are we really the one making decisions? He says, the impressions of the Atma, our true self, our true desire underneath everything, filter through the medium of the physical body, meaning that includes the mind, right? It filters through the medium of the physical body in proportion to the purity of the mind. When our mind falsely identifies with our body, that mind becomes controlled, and the true us is not shining through. So again, the impressions of the Atma filter through the medium of the physical body in proportion to the purity of the mind. In proportion with my mind is fixed in reality, that's me and my desires coming through. Otherwise, my mind is programmed. You want this, you want that, get this, get that. You won't be happy until you have. That's all impressions coming through my experience in life.
You know who knows this?
Who?
This whole thing, it's like gardeners. They're gardening, right? They're putting the seed in the ground. Stuff's coming. Things are being manifested, and you think, I grew broccoli. I grew raspberries. I grew blueberries. You didn't do nothing, and you know it. You actually know it. When you're gardening, you realize, I'm not doing anything. It's all just manifesting. And even when we move our bodies, there are, according to the Vedas, there are like demigods. Just in the same way these blueberries are magically growing, there's demigods who are assisting us in the moving our eyelids and our twitching and our motions. It's not just me doing it. It's me desiring it. And the demigod's working in coordination with that. But we are so not the doer. It goes back to astrology again, actually. If you're really
sure it does? Are you sure?
It really does. Because when you actually study astrology, you'll start to realize how little free will. Right? You realize because I'm having good luck in my life, in my business, in my work, in my romance, you're not. I mean, it's not because of your doing. It's because of some previous karmas that you're acting out right now. I tell you, Kaustubha, I got my chart done in 1991, and I tell you, it was so damn accurate to this day. Like, things are revealing from that one chart that are happening today.
Are you sure it's not self-fulfilling prophecy, Raghunath?
Definitely not.
Okay.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
All right.
I mean, not because it's talked about my past as well as my present,
Right.
and then my future. It said this one thing, which is even funny, because in 1991, you probably remember me in 1991, crazy brahmachari, but it said, I will have many friends in political spheres, and you'll be good consultation with other politicians. I was like, politicians? That will be the last thing I will ever. I know lots of politicians. I actually know lots of politicians now. It's unbelievable.
Okay. It's all true.
It all came true. Yeah, this stuff is actually, Anyway.
So you're saying that you can look at the stars and see that a lot of decisions that we're making seem to be influenced. Whether it's influenced by the stars or recorded in the stars, right? So
the recorded. All we can really do is change how we react to our karma. So once I feel like, hey, I've got good fortune, that binds us. Once we start to say, look at what I've created by my good works, that starts to bind us immediately. When we start to say, by Krishna's mercy, and we start to relinquish credit, for all our greatness,
Mhm.
and give the credit back to Bhagavan, we're actually now stepping outside of the world of karma, outside of the world of the demigods, outside of the world of cause and effect, and giving the ultimate, just like Lord Brahma's doing, he's giving the ultimate credit to Bhagavan.
Right.
And we have very minimal. And that's why the yoga system itself is pushing us towards sattva, where we have a little bit more free will. Yeah, the noose is a little, like, imagine if we're like harnessed by like like being pulled around the neck by like a dog is pulled around the neck by the master, right? And then the dog we get a little bit more freedom if you're sattvic. And if you're not sattvic, if you're tamasic, you're bound by that karma. You have no choices.
And
Right?
that relates to where he said that the impressions of the Atma filter through the medium of the physical body in proportion to the purity of the mind. If the mind is sattvic, right? If the mind is pure. But this raises an interesting question, an interesting point. I think this idea that if someone says, well, so your Eastern philosophy, your Bhagavad Gita, your Srimad Bhagavatam is telling me.
I love when you play the devil's advocate. Your Eastern philosophy.
It's telling me that I'm not the doer. So that means I'm not the guy that went out and worked hard and earned the money, that purchased this home and provided for my family and, did this and did that, right? So that's all just happening automatically. I've got nothing to do with it. That seems like a very disempowering philosophy. I'm not really interested in that. Like what's the point? So I'm supposed to like just bow down to some god and say you did everything and I did nothing, and I'm this entirely powerless, being. But this is the thing, we all feel that need for like validation, like I have value, and we generally look for that value through our accomplishments. But really, the truth is that that's not where our value, even what we can accomplish, is given to us, right? Like, really, our value isn't in our accomplishments. It's in who and what we are by nature. I am a spark of spirituality. I am the energy of God. The accomplishment is in realizing that, right? That's the accomplishment. When I realize who and what I am, that's the supreme accomplishment, right? Like, I am this divine spark of spiritual energy that by nature is connected to and feeling divine love for Krishna. And when I get that, then I'm observing even my own activities. And that's where, like in the Gita, where Krishna's telling Arjuna, surrender to the purpose that you have and be detached from the results, because actually that's not your business at all, right? Actually, that's granted to you, whatever the results will be. Your accomplishment is in realizing who and what you are. That's glorious right there. And we're talking about the example of Pankajangri Prabhu, the Pujari who passed away last week. And we said, I'm sure he had, in one sense, his whole life was an incredible accomplishment, but he's not known for having achieved something huge or something like that. He was known for his character, right? He was known that he was able to move through this world in a state of pure consciousness, and it manifested in his kindness, in his clarity. It was the accomplishment was in realizing who and what I am, and it wasn't in building something big or achieving fame or.
Well, that's the thing. People are always like, "You got to do more. You got to do more. You got big shoes to step into."
Yeah,
it wasn't. It was like what he did do was very significant, and it wasn't like a massive project. It was doing the simple correctly, doing the simple with depth and with
ultimately with love.
Right? Yeah, ultimately with love. Yeah.
And to be able to live, we may accomplish huge things, we may accomplish small things, we may put lots of, Jatayu, right, the bird failed at his service, right?
Yeah, he was trying to save Sita from Ravana, and he wasn't stronger than Ravana. He was going to fight this demon, and he knew he was going to lose. And so in service, he failed. And in the material world, that means you're a failure.
Right.
And in the spiritual world, you're dying for Lord Ram, to save Sita and to defeat the evil. That's the most beautiful thing. You win.
You win. And so I love like where you kind of started. It was like kind of being able to observe as we move through life. This is so much about our spiritual life. It means observing. I just accomplished this by Krishna's grace, right? I didn't. Oh, Krishna did not allow it this time. Either way, I put in that clear, sattvic, pure intention and apply myself, and that's the glory. It really being able to observe what's going. I see how the material energy is carrying everything out. Srila Prabhupada, his accomplishments were like massive, like just like even from a material point of view. As a 70-year-old man stepping on a cargo ship, having 3 heart attacks, landing in New York with absolutely nothing.
It's like a success book. You know what I mean? Like the success
and then in
literature.
one decade, you have hundreds of temples and thousands of followers and millions of books distributed. And
couldn't you understand one of these potentiality gurus saying things like, you can do it like this Swami, he just put his mind focused, and with that drilled inspiration, he was focused on the goal and he achieved the goal. But that was sort of like a winner's winner. Like there are winners in the material world that are losers because they're self-absorbed.
Yes.
They right?
Accomplish. Yeah. I mean,
and you and I know losers by material, right? That are winners. Like in Bhakti, they're just like losers by material standards. Like this guy's such a loser. But by spiritual standards, they're such winners.
Yeah.
We know and love people like that, right? We could probably go through lists of people that we've met. Like people would see him, they'd think, what a loser. And we're thinking, this guy's a gem. This lady's a gem, right? They're like material losers, and we use that word, we throw it around. But like, come on, we've met material winners that are losers. I don't want to die like that. I don't want to live like that.
But, so Prabhupada, externally, he's a huge winner. Externally, he accomplished massive things, massive things, For most people, just to write one book is like a huge thing. I left my mark on the world. He was writing book after book after book, moving from scratch with no money, with no influence, like creating this worldwide global, movement, money, temples, books, all starting from nothing. But you look at how he was praying on the day that he was arriving on that boat, right?
You got that prayer? That's the best prayer ever.
Well, I don't have it with me. Maybe we can pull it up tomorrow or something like that. But it was like just like Brahma's praying, right? If you want to use me as your puppet, right, then make me dance. Like I'm surrendered to you. I need you. He's praying for the inspiration, right, for the introspection to communicate with these people. I'm looking at these people. I'm seeing how controlled they are by the 3 modes of material nature. What can I do? But if you wish, you could grant me the words to say so that I can reach these people. If you want me to dance, if you want me to be your puppet, let me dance, right?
That is the most beautiful prayer I ever heard.
Yeah. And that's the way Brahma's praying. That's the way Prabhupada's praying. Right?
Oh, Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, make me dance, oh Lord, make me dance as you like.
Yeah.
Right?
And that now I'm actually free. I'm not controlled by my senses. I'm not controlled by my mind. I'm not chasing material things that don't actually deliver happiness. I'm in the situation where I'm experiencing the deepest spiritual happiness. I'm the instrument of God.
How foolish would it be, right? Ever go to like a good puppet show? Our kids went to a Waldorf school, so they do these puppet shows that are just like quite magnificent puppet shows. How foolish would it be if after seeing like a whole great puppet show, a puppet would feel proud of their dance? Imagine a puppet's like, yeah, I'm a pretty good dancer. No, you're not, puppet. You're a puppet.
You're a puppet.
You had nothing to do with your dance. You're just like a blah. And so we become proud puppets in the material world. We're puppets anyway. We're moved by the gunas. We're moved by our karma. We're moved by our blessings. And we're arrogant about our puppetness. How crazy is that? There's no such thing. It's foolish to be a proud puppet.
But the puppet still becomes so valuable when it carries out its purpose. And And that's the thing, as Prabhupada's moving through the world, as Brahma's creating, they're actually feeling real happiness. Not the false, temporary, disappointing happiness of being controlled by the mind and senses, but by being controlled by that inner, that Rama, that inner potency. They're experiencing true, dynamic, vibrant spiritual bliss at every moment.
That's nice. I like this puppet analogy. That's it. I mean, I was gonna roll. I was gonna roll with some. I was rolling with puppets. And
Let's pick up there tomorrow. Pick up from the puppet thing.
Pick up the
Let's
puppets.
remember.
It's quite amazing, huh? Because the puppets have great significance and they have great value when in the hands of the puppeteer, right?
Yeah.
Come on.
And they're useless when they're not.
And they're useless. They're just laying there flat, proud, arrogant. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Hey, man, somehow I got to get a Sweet Baby Krishna in because they give me a lot of juice. So we're going to figure it out. But you're going to be on call for Sweet Baby Krishna. So check your Discord thread. Check. How do people know about things like this? Do we put it on the website, man?
It goes on Patreon.
Yeah, Patreon.
It goes on Patreon. Patreon members, check that out. We're going to do it, and we'll announce it as well.
You haven't noticed those comic things that we put up on Patreon, Raghu? I put up all those once a week. Once a week. I work so hard on it.
No. I'm just I know. I totally understand. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, if you want to support what we're doing, we appreciate it. It's a community-supported podcast. That means you, the listener, if you're appreciating this, you can give something and let this boat keep floating. It really helps. That's the only way we can do this. Thanks for everybody who's contributing. It's patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. Make a monthly pledge. Whatever. We appreciate it. I'm teaching yoga right after this, 7 a.m. 7 a.m. Come on. And thank you for just being you. Now let's dance.